Hello, and this is The Core Truth. And today I have Brad Feldman, real estate agent, executive sales manager, coach, entrepreneur with Douglas Elliman. Brad, welcome to The Core Truth.
Peter, thank you as always. Pleasure to be
It's
here.
great. It's always great to be here with you and to get you to share your wisdom with us. For those of you that don't know Brad, I'm going to ask him to tell us how he got in the business.
So I've been in the industry for a little over 20 years, actually. Started very young. I started working for a real estate trainer, Mike Ferry. Tom Ferry was the CEO of the company at the time. My good friend Bill Pipes got me the job there. We grew up together. Was there for maybe a little over a year and a half. And went from there into the mortgage industry with Bill, worked for one of my first mentors in the business, a guy named Aaron Chua and his dad, Ron Chua. Sold for them, did loans for them. And in 2005, I went into real estate full time.
Wow, 2005. So you had about 3 years before the big collapse.
Yeah, I had 2 years of a fantastic, great market. And then it just went, we all know what happened.
But interestingly, you were probably one of the first to pivot when the market did change.
Yes, I did. I mean, I think our industry, the market's always going to do what the market's going to do. And, our industry is about adapting. And so if you didn't adapt, you were going to go out of business. So, like a lot of people, I was doing short sales, REOs, and actually I thrived during that time. So it was a huge growth time for me. I sort of laid the foundation for the career that I have today, which I have to say it's amazing. Like I look back in the last 5 or 10 years, I never thought I'd be where I'm at today. But when you work hard and put your head down, good things happen.
That's very true. I think a lot of agents are struggling right now with the market. How are you approaching the market that we're in today?
I actually spoke at a meeting in Beverly Hills a couple weeks ago or last week. And the thing that I was trying to teach agents is it doesn't matter what the market's doing. You mentioned 2008, 2009, 10. You adapt, you work harder, you fundamentally, we have to do the same things. We have to find buyers that want to buy.
Didn't you shift your business into short sales and do some other things during that
Oh,
period of
absolutely.
time?
Yeah, but that was the adaptation of what the market was throwing at us, right? So
Got it.
it's your business plan. In this market, you cannot be in this business. You cannot be stringent on here's the plan. I'm going to do it this way. You have to be able to adapt and work with what the market's going to do because the market's ever changing. This last weekend we had 2 banks that went under, right? So, and quite frankly, like the real estate market's doing fantastic. We have the strangest market I've ever seen. We have lower demand with low inventory. So things are still moving, they're still selling. But the fundamental basics of our job is we have to find sellers that want to sell, and we have to find buyers that want to buy. And so when you learn to manage your time and you look for those, 2 people, then and not waste your time with other people, it doesn't matter what the market's doing. You just might have to talk to more people.
Right. But what would you say to someone starting in real estate right now? What would be your advice to them?
Well, one, I think a lot of those agents that are just starting out, it's difficult because there's less open house opportunities. There's less opportunity, but here's the beautiful thing. They don't know any different. So our rookie of the year in our Beverly Hills office had a fantastic year last year where most agents were struggling, and the guy didn't know any better. He just put his head down, he prospected, he talked to people, and he started doing transactions. So, one, you have to have the right mindset, you have to have the right plan, you have to have desire, and you have to have a purpose. And when those things come together, it doesn't matter what the market's doing. But a new agent coming in, they don't know if it's a good market, bad market, because they're new, right? Like you mentioned, I came in 2005. And I saw, that was still a tough time as a new agent because, things were moving. It was still very low inventory. The
Mm.
market was on fire. So for me, when 2007 slowed down and 2008 happened, I was prospecting already so much and so hard that I just
Right.
shifted who I was talking to and went after a different platform, a different pillar of business. And it worked out very well for me. And it laid the foundation for a beautiful, amazing career.
And then we discovered you. Sharon and I, we were at Telus Properties. We were coming into Orange County and we saw Brad Feldman and we said, we got to get this guy. We got to get this guy on the Telus team. I remember it so
Yeah.
vividly.
Yeah.
Um, what was
Well,
that like? I mean, you'd been with that company for a while. I mean,
yeah.
how did we convince you to join us?
Well, it was really funny. I met you and Sharon, I think, at a Tom Ferry event, and Sharon, introduced himself to me, and I was so cocky. I was so stupid. I said something along the lines to him like, "Hey, I'm not looking to leave my company," and Sharon goes, "Well, that's fine. I'm not looking to recruit you." And of course, like my ego is bruised, right? Like,
Yeah,
total humble, me, right? Like, I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And it actually kind of made me lean in, right?
yeah.
And then,
Well, he
the
was the
reality is,
ultimate
I
salesman for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, also too, I mean, it was a beautiful relationship. This whole
yeah,
business is relational, with your colleagues, your other agents, right? Like you
yeah.
guys. I mean, so I built a relationship with you guys. I knew that it was going to be beneficial for my business. And I remember when I left my previous firm, they're like, "You're committing career suicide," and like within 18 months, I tripled my production. I was like, "Okay."
Yeah,
But that was the mentorship. It was like the coaching, and it's the same thing that we have at Element, right? It's like what
yeah.
you and I are dedicated to is like partnering with agents and seeing them grow. And you guys did that for me.
Well, we do a lot of stuff for free, don't we? I mean, we have to like protect our time somewhat, but on the other hand, I always say if you don't, you can't keep it if you don't give it away. And I think we're at points in our careers where we truly enjoy helping people and helping them, navigate this nutty
Oh yeah,
business.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So what are you doing at Element now? So what is your role?
So I manage our Laguna Niguel and our Laguna Beach offices. Element, when did you guys approach me? For about 2019, I guess.
Hmm.
And we needed leadership in the South Orange County offices, and Peter had approached me, and as well as Dave Worth, and I was intrigued. I mean, it was I've always I built a team because I love coaching, I love training agents, I love seeing agents become successful, and it was intriguing. It was like the reality is I didn't want the management gig, but I loved coaching and training agents, and actually it was a great move for my career. I remember telling Peter, I was like, this is great. I'm going to get my MBA, based on my position at the company, and see how one of the biggest, baddest brokerages, one of the most sophisticated brokerages in the U.S. actually works and operates. And it's been incredible. I mean, it's been an incredible journey, and I've learned a lot. It's really helped me to become a better leader. And as you said, Peter, when you're helping and coaching, you're better. I mean, I still run a real estate team, one of the top teams in Orange County. I've got two amazing business partners. So I wear a lot of hats. I work hard, and I'm just very focused on the goal.
Well, you do work really hard, Brad. I mean, you run a successful team, major seven-figure team. You run a very, very successful couple of offices in one of the most competitive markets, in the world. You recruit, and you're a dad. You have a lot of stuff going on in your life. I mean, you're super, super busy. Talk to me a little bit about before we. I want to get into a little bit about how you build a team because I know a lot of agents are super interested in that. But before we get to that, talk to me a little bit about how you manage life and how you kind of navigate because life is happening full time. You're not immune from all kinds of life
Oh,
events.
for sure. Yeah.
And you got a really busy life, and and it's so interesting to me because I think this is really an important conversation because so many people will, if they're going through a divorce or someone dies in the family or something like that, they really struggle keeping going and having continuity at work. And the problem is when they stop that continuity at work, they're compounding the problem because when the money
Yeah.
stops flowing and you're in grief, it gets really bad.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's really an option.
Yeah. So it is interesting. We were talking before this call. I mean, I think you use the analogy like an agent will stub their toe and they're gone for 6 months, and so, you're right. Life is always happening and there's always going to be stuff. There's going to be things thrown at us. And as an entrepreneur, it's difficult to navigate that because a lot of us are a one-man show. A lot of us are, life hits us and we react. And so, I learned this early on, and my old business partner taught me this. One of my first business partners, and I'll get into that when we talk about building teams. But it was a great partnership. We had a great relationship, and he was a great mentor to me. And he actually taught me, listen, when, problems are problems, but when you have financial problems on top of those problems, it compounds your problems. And so, I was going through a really tough time in my life. Money was a necessity. And so I really had to learn to compartmentalize, and be present in the moment. And if I can give, this is, from a management perspective, we deal with, from a leadership role, we deal with our agents' problems. And a lot of times we take those problems on as our own because we care about them. And the advice that I give my agents all the time is like, listen, from you, I don't care if you come in for 2 hours a day, but when you come in for those 2 hours a day, be present and be focused and have a purpose. The same thing that I talked about earlier with the business plan, right? And have that desire. And so I don't care if you work an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours a day, make it the highest and best use of that time that you're going to allot to it. And then if you want to go home, get a gallon of ice cream and be depressed or do whatever you're going to do, go ahead and do it. But at least what starts to happen with your mind is you start to get these wins. And those wins will change your mindset and get you out of issues. And it doesn't even have to be a bad thing in your life. It could be a great thing in your life. It's like, but you just got engaged, you got married, you just had a child. And so I don't ever want agents to think, we shouldn't be able to celebrate those times, but learn to compartmentalize those moments when you have to do what you have to do. And then be in the present moment when you're in a win or in a negative space, because you have to go through that too. And don't fall victim to being a victim, right?
I think,
that's so unbelievably important for people. Like to take ownership of whatever life is throwing at you in some way or form is so critical.
Yeah, because this business is a momentum business. You and I talk about that a lot. And if you take your foot off the gas for the shortest amount of time, you're going to really increase the gap between deals. And, I know you stress, always add a little bit of business development to every day as one of those things. If you're going to come in for 2 hours, that might be the best thing you focus on is, developing your business, prospecting for your next bit of business. And I know you have your team prospecting, they're door knocking, they're cold calling, you're doing it too. I mean, you're leading by example. I've always seen you do that. How important is it, that agents not take their foot off the gas and that they continue to always be trying to grow their business? Because don't you find agents, they'll make a sale, then they disappear, and then they come back and they think there's going to be a sale waiting for them.
Yeah. Well, just remember, financial problems compound problems. So, to me, I presented this in a meeting a couple weeks ago, but would you hire you? Are you in the right mindset? Are you in the right, are you doing the activities every day that you need to do? And if you were, and you are, by the way, you're the CEO of your own business, but would you hire you? And and I ask myself that question on a daily basis, because if I wouldn't hire me, I need to show up differently. And so if I hire someone, I expect certain things from them. And so I have a certain expectation myself because I have that attitude. And so even if it's just, there's a great analogy that, the old water pumps, right? When you needed to get the water flowing, it took all this force and inertia to try and get the water to flow. But once the water starts to flow, then you just simply have to push the lever down occasionally to keep it flowing. Well, that's the power of momentum. When the train is leaving the station, it takes the most power and force at that moment to get the train to move. So to let your foot off the gas or to stop giving the
Mm.
train energy, it's such a mistake in our business. And you and I have seen this forever, and it's the peaks and valleys of our business that I hate. You see someone on top of
Mm.
the world, and you watch them get an escrow or two going, and they stop doing the things that got them those escrows. It's a loop in our business that hopefully I'm helping agents not fall into that trap.
Well, I think this is a core truth, and I think the core truth is this, that we'll have like, we do calls every day at Douglas Elliman, and we're teaching our agents skills, and we're telling them what to say and what to do and all these different things. But at the end of the day, agents are always coming to us and saying, "What do I do next, Brad? How do I build a business? What do I need to do?" And I think if we were really honest with them, we would probably say, "You already know what to do. Why aren't you
Yeah,
doing it?"
yeah,
And so knowing that that's really the right answer, not the one they want to hear, because they're looking for
yeah,
the
yeah,
next hack, the shortcut, the quick fix
yeah,
that doesn't exist.
yeah.
What is the mindset, and how do you maintain that mindset so that you can have growth and success in your career?
I think every day you have to focus on the mind. Just remember, what you put in is what you're going to put out. So, I'm very aware of, what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, the way that information comes at us. Like if you think of just about technology and how vastly different information is coming at our brains, it's coming at us so quick that we can't even interpret the information.
Mhm.
Before, when you were younger, Peter, how did you get the news?
Newspaper.
Newspaper? Right.
Yep. Radio.
Maybe, yeah,
TV. Walter
radio,
Cronkite.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Way
so
back.
now, because of technology, there's so many things that take us out of the present moment, and there's so many things that cause us to lose focus. And I'm fall victim to it too. I mean, I'm the guy, at night, by the time I get home, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm on the couch, I'm on social media. But the bits of information that are coming at us are so vast that it causes people to lose focus. And I think what you're referring to in our business is, there's always the new shiny penny. So agents are just like squirreled. They're like, okay, I'm going to go do this now, or I'm going to go do this now. And really, when you're creating, the foundation of a business, it needs to be very simplistic. It needs to be very simple. And I think we get in the way and we overcomplicate it. So from a mindset perspective, I'm constantly exercising the brain just like any other muscle. I have coaches for, my health. I have coaches that I pay for my mindset. I've had real estate coaches. I'm constantly, putting myself and people around me that are helping my mindset. My team is probably one of the best resources, because I feel like we've really got an amazing synergy. We hold each other high. And when I need to have my tissy fit, when I have my failure, or I get rejected from a client or lose a listing, um, they're the ones that I can go cry on their shoulder, and they lift me back up.
So the importance of coaches in a circle of five. I mean, I'm kind of like you. We both have coaches, and
Yeah,
heck, just even for my you know real estate business and people to vent on. I mean, I vent on Bill, I vent on Steve. I consider you a coach, to be honest, Brad.
yeah,
You know, in physical fitness, I've got a coach. In my guitar playing, I've got two coaches. I mean,
yeah,
I really, it's short. It helps you. It does. And
yeah.
talk to us about how you work with coaches, and then maybe you can go into your circle of five.
Well, I mean, like you, I'm the same, right? So, I've always believed in the power of coaching, having people around you, and I don't look at. I think coaches shouldn't be your accountability buddy. Okay, like they like if you. No one needs to be like hold me accountable, because I'm so anchored in what my purpose is, that is what holds me accountable. My family holds me accountable. Like with the goals and dreams that I have hold me accountable, right? Coaching is totally different. Like my trainers, at my gym, these guys have become friends of mine, because I rely on them. I'm with them for an hour a day. We're talking about uplifting things. We're talking about, we're exercising our bodies and trying to be better than we were the day before. And I think when you're focused on those kind of things, your mindset is clearly going to be in a positive way. Let me explain the circle of five. uh, Peter Hernandez is part of my circle of five. Sharon Srivatsa, I would consider my circle of five. You mentioned Steven Kotler. Absolutely. I mean, these are guys that like I can go to and bounce things off of. My business partner, Jackie Pierce, Trent Mason, my other business partner. I mean, these are people that I hold dear. My girlfriend, Jessica, right? Like these are people in my life that will always allow me to vent, to go over issues with, go over problems with, but they're not going to let me stay stuck there. And I think that's really really important. The people that you're associated with directly in your life, directly around you, are critical. Like, and here's the other thing. Like, I was, and I literally ask myself all this day on a daily basis, like, would I hire myself? Would you hire the people in your circle of five? Like, are those people that you would want to work with? Are those people that, that invigorate you and help you grow? Like, it's so critical to have those people around you. It's critical.
You change coaches though from time to time. I've noticed too. Like you shift gears, and
Uh,
and I find that too. Like like I'll need a different angle. I'll need a different bit of
yeah,
information.
I
Do you
mean,
change often, or is that?
yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about coaching relationships, I think coaching relationships there can be a complacency there, and at some point, you're going to become friends with someone you're coaching, or vice versa. And so I think it's important to always change things up. I mean, I hired Steph and Shay and we've had them on our podcast. I was with them for about 18 months, and it was like, hey, I'm going to go shift over here, and I wanted to focus and put some of that money more into like health and fitness and other things. So I'm constantly, Eileen Rivera has been my coach on and off for years, and I jump in with Eileen, and then there's times when I jump out with Eileen. And so I think in any relationship it can get stagnant. And so from a coaching perspective, if someone can motivate me or teach me something new, I'm always going to go that direction. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always observing. I'm always trying to learn. And then most importantly, take action when I'm learning. Peter, you got muted.
So you're building two teams really. You're building the team for your
Yeah.
offices, I should say, and then you're
Yeah.
building your sales team.
Yeah.
How do you build a team? Because let's face it, what is everybody talking about right now? Teams.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
either want to join a team or they want to start a team. Isn't that every conversation with every realtor at the moment? Just about.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And there's multiple platforms of teams. There's teams that operate in multiple, different ways. And so I don't know if my way is the right way, the wrong way. It's my way. And I think if you're going to consider building a team, you should talk to multiple people who have successful teams and see how they run their team. Um, to me, culture is everything, right? So from building an office to building, a successful real estate team, synergy and culture, and again, the circle of five, like having people around me that are winning, that want to win, is very very important to me, and people that are very congruent and aligned with what the purpose and the goal is. So when I first started building a team, it was out of necessity. I was going through a tough time in my life. I was going through a divorce, and I knew that I wanted to spend time with my children, and I was working 7 days a week, and I was working 10 to 12-hour days. And so I started a partnership that I could rely on someone to take time off that I needed. And I didn't want my production to go down as a result of it, or not service the clients as a result of it. That evolution, after that partnership ended, really, it was the first time I started hiring agents. I hired an assistant, then I hired a back end operator that ran operations for me. I hired one agent and another, and once I had the operational role fulfilled, then I had the systems and process to bring on agents. And one of the things that I love to do was coaching and leading by example, and going door knocking with them, and going on listing appointments with them, and helping them grow and win. Because when they won, I won. My team has never been about me; it's about us. And I remember there's a graph with a guy in a chariot. He's, whipping, guys that are towing the chariot. And there's like, this is one example of leadership, but the other is that the guy is in front of the guys towing the chariot and he's in front of them. And I always took that visual to heart because to me, it was, I can't ask anyone to do what I'm not willing to do. And so, from a culture standpoint, and having good camaraderie within a group of people is everything. So to lead people into battle was much more important to me, and be in the trenches with them and then help them succeed and help them grow. And I take the same attitude with my agents
Yeah.
that I manage.
So you're a believer in pulling rather than pushing, leading by example, almost a
Absolutely.
servant type of leadership, being a
Yeah,
service.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think, I have two business partners. My team has evolved to where I have two business partners, and we're constantly supporting each other. We're constantly stepping in and to each other's roles and helping each other. And we have a lot of fun. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a day that I don't want to come into work because we're going to laugh, we're going to have fun, and we're going to do lots of deals. And sorry, go
And I
ahead.
think that's a good point, because I think teams offer that camaraderie. They kind of shrink the company. Like when you work for a firm like Douglas Elliman, I mean, we're pretty tight for sure,
Yeah.
but we're a large firm. So when you're on a team,
Yeah.
it creates more community, I think, or more connection for agents. And it's a lonely business, Brad, as we know. And
We've
it's
talked about this so many times. Yeah.
yeah. I
Every, I
mean,
mean, you and I have said this so many times. This is the depressing part of the Peter Hernandez, Brad Feldman live. It is a lonely business. I mean, every day, and I say this and I believe it, but every day we wake up unemployed. And so every day we have to get really good at going and finding a job and interviewing for a job. I don't care if it's a seller or a buyer, but the better you hone that skill and the more focused you are on going and finding a job, the better you're going to do. So having people to go through the trenches with you is always going to help. Like if one of my team members loses a deal, we all lost the deal, and we're all there to support them, and we're all there to lift them up. And you know, the, we have to recognize as an industry that teams truly are taking over. And if you think about, the fact that technology has created a space where people want information now. So, you get a text, someone needs to respond. You get an email, someone needs to respond. But to take that all on your own as an individual is very, very difficult to compete with, now a team of people that are there to support the client. And, I was very early on in the team building stage. There wasn't a lot of groups out there. There wasn't a lot of teams. And again, I did it by necessity. I did it because I recognized very clearly that if I wanted to live the life how I wanted to live it, I needed to have a support system in there to do it. And, it's been very beneficial.
what do you think? Why do some teams fall apart? Why do agents leave teams? And in your opinion?
Well, I think the biggest thing, when I'm coaching a team, the first thing is I do leadership training for the team leader, and I think it's a lot of teams are built because the team leader is getting so busy that what they're looking for is people to support them and help them, but they're not really in the leadership role to train, coach, and build up other people. And
Mhm.
it's one of the biggest failures I see. I mean, we've all, and you and I have seen this over the years. You see like a revolving door of agents coming in and out of working with teams, and it's because they haven't
Or
done
jumping
training
from
in
team to
leadership.
team, you see too. They jump
Correct.
from team to team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, if someone leaves my team, I wish them the best. If someone leaves our firm, I wish them the best. Right? Like
Hmm.
that's always been my attitude. Maybe it just
Yeah,
wasn't the
me
right
too.
fit.
Hmm.
But also I learn a lesson from it. And it was like I analyzed like what could I have done better? What could I have done differently? Was I being supportive? Was I doing this? So I
Hmm.
look at those things too.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think unfortunately there's agents out there that they're successful, they're busy, and they bring on minions instead of bringing on like people to grow as a unit.
Can an agent survive as an individual agent? Like, I mean, I think you
Yeah.
let's say an agent had the, I think ideally you can't do everything yourself as an agent, but let's say
No.
you had a marketing person, an admin person, a social media person, you know what I mean, and maybe even a personal assistant to run your personal life. You
Yes.
know, that could be your team as well.
Yeah.
You don't have agents per se.
Correct.
Would that model survive in this world?
Absolutely. The most important thing is you have people around you to support the client, to service the client, and to deliver a good experience. I run my team. I'm more in the background now, right? Like
Mhm.
my business partners are more in the forefront. And so there was a time when I was the rainmaker and I was in the forefront. So, there's multiple ways that you can do this. And it doesn't need to be, one agent with 10 buyers agents or, 10, I consider all agents just salespeople on your team, but you
Mhm.
can, you can look at it in multiple different ways, and
Yeah.
I know very successful agents, very, very successful agents. And we have some in our firm that it's really one agent that's in sales with a support system around
Well, you know, the one thing you said, which was your original reason you started your team, was time. And we talk about time a lot, and it really flies in this business. And it flies in two ways. One, if you're really, really busy, you don't have time for your family, friends, or anything
Yeah.
else, even your health. And it flies in another way. If you're not really busy, a year goes by and you haven't made a sale. In both ways, the central theme is time. And so talk to me a little bit about time management and the way you run your life, Brad, because we didn't get into it on this call, but maybe we can do another one. I mean, you have one of the busiest lives I know. You have a lot of balls you're juggling, and you do make it look easy, I've got to say. So talk
Well,
to us
let's
about
let
that.
let's see if I can get into it. I'm getting over a cold and I'm starting to get a coughing bout, so I
All right.
apologize.
Well, we'll be
But
done in a
let's get
second.
into
All right.
it. So what's so funny, Peter, is yes, I'm very, very. I run a very uh, productive. I don't like the word busy. I run a very productive life. Um, but again, I'm so in the present moment when I'm doing the activity that I'm doing that I'm there. When I get home, I want to be in the present moment when I'm home. I've learned that, I don't answer calls after a certain time. I step away when I need to. Um, and, quite frankly, every day, on an average, I'm home probably 4:30, 5 o'clock. I
Mhm.
used to be in the office at 7 and I'd get home at 7, 8, 9. I was building a business. And
Mhm.
so when you're building, you're probably going to put more hours in. But now, again, my business partners and I have a support system around us where we don't always have to do everything.
Mhm.
So, when I'm in real estate sales Brad mode, I'm very focused. I'm very present. When I'm in management mode, I'm very focused. When I'm meeting with my agents, I'm very focused. And I live and I die by my calendar. Again, I think one of the biggest problems with our society and not just our business is that we're constantly being pulled out of the present moment. And I saw this. I'm going to butcher the quote. It was by Eckhart Tolle. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. Um, but stress is what pulls us out of the present moment. And I always say this, but if you think about anxiety, anxiety is so strange because anxiety is worrying about a future that's never happened. And so
Mhm.
stress is what actually pulls us out of that present moment. And so the more that you can focus on the present moment, you can get so much done and be so productive in such a short amount of time. But just think about like in nature how we are. Like, we're all a little attention deficit because of the way that information is being poured on us, that we lose focus. And so people in general, this isn't a real estate thing, people in general have very short attention, time spans. And
Mhm.
so the more that you can learn just to focus on the task at hand, like my phone's on do not disturb a lot
Mhm.
because when I'm with a client or when I'm working on something, or if I have to run comps, or if I have to coach an agent, or if I have to, meet with an agent, like the only thing that matters is that moment right then. And
So
if
the
I
stress of all this stuff that you're going to have to do after this meeting, after this thing, you just
there's a
somehow
time and place
block
for it.
that. You block that out, don't you? You
Yeah,
know, like because you're always going to have more emails, you're always going to have
yeah,
more text messages. It's
yeah.
interesting.
So, and that is something that's a learned skill, by the way, right?
Hmm.
Like, so, I've had moments in my life where it was so overwhelming that my entire day would be ruined. I mean, I wouldn't want to get out of bed. I was in a depression or whatever was happening, right?
Mm,
But
yeah.
but I learned again when we started this. I said in very short blocks, like it's like when you start working out. Let's use the analogy of going to the gym. Like you're not going to go for your first day and do a 3-hour workout. But if you can get on a bike and maybe lift some weights for 30 minutes, that's probably a good start. Because once your body starts getting used to it and acclimated to it, you can do more and more and more. So, when I've been in those moments where I'm like, man, I'm done. I've had it, right? Because I'm human, you're human, we all get
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
right?
We crash.
It's inevitable. And so that's why like taking planned time off is really important. And when you're on that
Hmm.
time off, like being very focused. So
Hmm.
there's just intention is so important. And so I
Hmm.
just know when I come through the office door, I'm focused and
Yeah.
I'm going to go from appointment to appointment. I'm going to get done when I get done. And if I can leave the office at 3 o'clock, I leave the office at 3 o'clock.
Hmm.
If
That's
it comes
great.
6 o'clock, if you try and get a hold of me, you're probably not going to
Yeah. That's good.
unless
Got to have
unless
boundaries.
someone needs me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to conclude on one thing. What would be your definition of leadership?
Always
And who are some
being
of your favorite? Who are some of your favorite leaders of all time that,
well, you
whether
are, Peter.
political or
Yeah.
whatever?
I'll stay out of the political arena.
All right.
But I will say this, from one of the biggest mentors I have in my life is you.
Oh, thank you, Brad.
I've learned quite a bit from you. And so, I'm not trying to be cheesy here, but if I was going to pick one, it'd be you. My father was an incredible leader. He was an incredible business owner. You never saw him get emotional, not to his employees, not to the people around him. So he's very high on that on the pedestal.
Hmm.
Um, and I and I'm not going to choose anyone else, but I'll say this: if you're asking me what makes a good leader, it's always being willing to learn. Like
Yeah.
it's not having to be right. It's being humble and it's being gracious. It's being ethical. It's being able to be able to listen, to wanting to give your energy to someone. Because not only is time important, but your energy is important,
Yeah.
and where we put our energy is very important. So to me, it's really the art of observing, learning, taking ownership, and even in a leadership role, people get it wrong.
Mm,
But
yeah.
it's being
All the
quick
time.
to take it and say, hey, you know what, I really screwed up, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Ownership. Admit fault.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, thank you, Brad. Thank you so much for being on The Core Truth. It's so great to work with you every day. I love it. I've enjoyed getting to know you better and better and better. You're a great guy. I don't know if you know it. I don't know if enough people tell you that, but you are a great guy.
Peter, thank you. I appreciate
All
it.
right.
That's a
So,
compliment coming from you. This was a nice bromance moment, by the way.
all right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brad. And that wraps another Core Truth.
Yep. Thank you.